This is so weird. Like, this is so weird.
Yeah,
Weird. This is so weird. No. Oh my God. That was
Starting over.
All right, guys. Hey, how's it going, guys? Long time no see since Thanksgiving.
Are we really doing this?
Yeah.
Start
oh my
over.
God.
Start it over.
No.
Good idea.
Start it over.
Oh my gosh. All right. Welcome in, everyone. This is episode 3. For our one listener out there, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know we did. How was your guys' Thanksgiving?
Great. I listened to this podcast.
We have a supporter. You're our one listener.
How many? But how many times?
Oh, I think I got like four at least on each one. Yeah. What I've been doing is I've been actually just playing it and like trying to keep giving myself critiques, and I'm realizing I got more critiques every time I listen to it.
Oh my God.
Thanksgiving was great. I mean, I saw you guys there. It was actually fantastic. I mean, we all made some bad decisions, made some good ones as well.
Did our traditional Edward 40 hands?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. No, Turkey Day was good. Obviously last week we took a little bit of time off for our third episode, but it's great to be back and in our virtual studio. And I know we got a jam-packed agenda for everyone today. We're going to give you a slight Week 11 recap. We're going to dive into some Week 12 surprise, consistent disappointment picks. And then we're going to go into our Week 13 preview. We got a lot of games coming up, a lot of buys. So we want to share that with everyone and let you know what to expect for the coming week. So yeah, let's dive right into it. Week 11. All right, Mike, go let us know.
Yeah, we had a lot going on in Week 11. Unfortunately, like Tyler said, we couldn't exactly get back on the pod, but again, a lot did happen. Most notably, Burrow's out. Burrow's out for the season. This is going to really drastically change pretty much the entire Bengals offense. I know personally, I think this is going to end up hurting every receiver. Probably, if anyone's going to benefit, it's going to be Mixon, but Mixon might also get hurt too by the fact that the passing game is going to be pretty much eliminated. So there's going to be a lot more eyes watching Mixon.
It's going to hurt the AFC too if you think about it.
Yeah, you're right. Pollard, literally, he had a good showing. He had a good showing this week. I don't want to take too much credit, but I did seem to call it. So guess what? He got in the end zone, and we'll see how he goes in the near future.
That's a pleasant surprise for Pollard owners.
Absolutely, it is. Going over to Pittsburgh, Matt Canada out.
Gone.
Literally
gone. All the fans were asking for it.
What is this gonna do? I think this is huge news given the fact that he was driving one of the bottom offenses in the league. Now that he's gone, how's this gonna change up? Is the running back room gonna get better? Are the receivers gonna start passing more? Or are the receivers gonna start receiving more? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Lions are still looking beastly. Now, granted, it was a close game with the Bears. They got themselves into a little bit of trouble, but they stormed back with like 7 minutes left. If you guys haven't seen the highlights, YouTube them. It's fantastic showing. One of the guys preseason who I know I was super hyped about, Calvin Ridley, exploded.
Oh yeah.
We'll see if he ends up coming back into the mix. He was supposed to be their wide receiver 1. Really was taken over by Christian Kirk. How's it going to pan out? Cooper Kupp, held in check by the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Wow. 1 reception. I think it was like 12 yards. We'll see. I got some reservations on Kupp. I think that he may have been rushing back a little too much. I don't know. He hasn't really looked himself this season. And last game I want to touch on real quick. Eagles-Chiefs, those flying high Eagles were 2 hands away from actually losing, going down with 2 losses, but now you got MVS who just could not catch that ball.
So close.
Oh, God, it was so close. He was literally on the 5. He had the defender beat. So I think the Eagles are showing a little bit of they keep winning, I understand, but they're showing a little bit of chinks in the armor. What do you guys think?
They look beatable.
The Jets beat them.
I think that's enough said.
Exactly. Thank you.
They are looking beatable. Chiefs almost beat them. You know what? Honestly, both of these teams, the two powerhouses from last year's Super Bowl, Chiefs are a beatable team. They've got a great defense, but their offense is not kind of what we expected coming in from last year. And the Eagles, they lost to the Jets the past couple games. It's been close. They've had some dominant performances, yes, but they are also showing they are able to get scored upon, and they do have close games.
Yeah. I agree, and I think any team that wins the Super Bowl and then tries to come back, loses the Super Bowl, tries to make it back the next year. It's a team that lost both coordinators. We're starting to see a little bit of the chinks in the armor. A lot of their top players went to other teams, so we'll see how this all pans out for them.
Yeah, but definitely a highlightable game for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna try something new for our next segment.
Week 12.
Week 12. So instead of going game by game, we're gonna all pick our surprise player of the week, our consistent player of the week, consistent, who we think is just like, they're always a good play and they're always a consistent performer, and obviously our Week 12 disappointments. And let me tell you, there have been a lot of each of those categories. So, but Week 12 was a great week. We had a lot of games on Thanksgiving. We had our first ever Black Friday game, which I thought was cool. And then we had a jam-packed Sunday football day. So, but let's dive into it. So, surprise, consistent player, and Week 12 disappointment. Jordan, who do you got for your surprise this week?
So my surprise this week is Pat Freiermuth, and you did
a good job. You pronounced it right.
I got it right. A little bit of I wanted to say Freiermouth, but did not. But yeah, he surprised us, I think, a little bit to everybody. He put up, I think, 21 fantasy points this week, his best week of the season. But, it's a question of, is this a sign of things to come? I don't predict him being a top 5, but, he's certainly now cemented in the streamer category, or like at least worth stocking on your bench if your tight end does get hurt.
Yeah, and I like that pick. Freiermuth has obviously been out for a majority of the season, and it's great to see that he came back, and he is a great tight end and kind of what you expected. But like I said, having missed almost 5 weeks coming back from injury, it was good to see him jump right back into it.
Right, and we're still waiting to see. The ballot is still out on Kenny Pickett, where he's going to fall and how good he is. But we'll see what's going on. Steelers' offense is a little shaky, but he might be their bright spot moving forward for the season.
But you know what? This might actually be a sign of things to come because, again, this is one of the first games with Matt Canada out, and now all of a sudden you're seeing him come by. I mean, he comes back from injury. He is supposed to be their big receiver, their big tight end, kind of Mark Andrews-esque, and he actually gets 11 targets, 9 receptions, over 120 yards. I mean, this might be a sign of things to come.
It's true. Yep. It's true. I'm looking at his points. It was his best week. He did have only one other week in the beginning of the year where he scored over 10. But we'll see. Like you said, Matt Canada's gone. I mean, he plays Arizona next week, which they're not very good. He could have put up very good numbers against them. So we'll see. It could be. He's definitely worth looking at, especially if you got a tight end who's hurt.
Yep.
All right, Mike. Who is your surprise of the week?
I had a bunch to choose from, but I got to go with the guy I already mentioned here, Tony Pollard. I mean, you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, man. They are storming right now. They have just been dominating everybody the past 4 weeks, and quite frankly, Tony Pollard, having him finally get back into that end zone last week, the week prior, then getting it again in the week that just passed for Week 12, you're talking 21.3 fantasy points, 13 carries, over 4 yards a carry. He also got, and this is the mind-numbing number to me, 6 receptions. So if he's getting the ball thrown his way that much, PPR format, you don't even need him to get in the end zone. He's going to be producing. So I think he was my surprise candidate that he did it 2 weeks in a row. His utilization is there. He's on the field for more than 75% of the snaps last week. I don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick, too, because we all were disappointed with Pollard and how he's been this whole season. Obviously, he was high draft capital, and he's not been performing where you wanted him to be. And the last 2 weeks, maybe we're seeing a comeback. Great surprise.
Right. With Pollard, a lot of people were expecting him to really just pick up where Zeke was a couple years ago. But Dak is playing some of the best football he's played of his career. So I don't know if they'll stop passing as much, but it's nice to see Pollard get the end zone.
Yeah, I agree. And like to your point about Zeke, I think the surprising thing was Pollard was doing that last year, even with Zeke as the primary back. Pollard was showing that he had the juice, he had what it took to be that lead role, and then obviously he was a high draft pick, and definitely been someone that I think for the first, I would say up until week 11, he was one of the bigger disappointments of the season from such a highly anticipated role.
Agreed. That's a good point, Tyler. That I know some people took him as their first round pick. If you've been sitting on him all season, maybe you're going to finally get the benefit of picking him.
Yep. All right, so my surprise of the week is none other than Mike Evans. And this one's a little strange because Mike Evans also this year could be a consistent, and I think a lot of past years could be inconsistent, but one of the big things that I like about Evans is he is number 8 on the year, which given last year's performance, I think it's he's definitely one of the underdog wide receivers. He's had a touchdown every week this season except for 2 games. That's huge.
That's impressive.
And he's really just showing so much chemistry with Baker Mayfield. Baker loving to throw the ball down the field, and Evans one of the best deep receivers to ever do it. So
he really
definitely
is
a surprise over the last couple of weeks. I think Mike Evans is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I just love what he's doing with Baker and all he's done. And I think, they've also played against some tough teams. Evans has also performed against San Francisco. He had not a great week, but he had a week. Buffalo,
I was just going to say
Chicago, Philly.
The games he didn't do great. I mean, he still put up 15 points against San Francisco.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's had games. So he is my surprise of the week. My consistent of the week. Welcome back, Kyren Williams. And I say consistent because before he was injured, he was a top running back. Post-injury, we were all worried. I know we weren't sure how he would return after injury. He did have a lot of rest, but man, he is a running back. He is a force to be reckoned with. He is number 10 on the season, even after missing 3 games. Number 10.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised to hear that's all he missed. Is that all he missed? 3 games?
3 games and a bye.
Wow.
Oh, really? He got lucky with the bye week.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yes, he did. That's why I feel like they put him on IR.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry. 4 games. I'm sorry. He was out. You're right. 4 games he was out.
I thought it was more.
4 games and a bye. It was 4 games and a bye. And he's still number 10 though. Like I was under exaggerating missing 3 games. He's missed 4 games this season and he's still number 10.
Yeah, I know. It's been unreal what he's been able to do. And again, he's doing it all over the field. He's catching receptions. He's running the ball hard. I mean, you're talking about a running back who typically catches passes. Like, they're not usually the best running back to actually break through tackles. This guy's actually going through. He's getting over 4 yards a carry in most of his carries. Actually, looking at it, he's been around 8 yards a carry for 2 of these games. Most recently, the one that just passed. Dude's a beast.
Yeah,
he is. I think that he kind of could have been in 2 categories. He's both consistent because he was playing some great football before he got injured, but he's also a bit surprised because this is his best week. So yes, consistent, but I'm not expecting him to put up 30-plus points the rest of the season.
No, but he's been 20 points and higher a majority of his games, and yes, he's had his down games. Like his game against the Bengals where he underperformed there and the Eagles. But, I mean, a lot of his games are knocking on the 20. This is his second week where he scored 30 points or more. And week 2, he scored almost 29 against San Francisco, which has a great defense and run defense. So he's putting in the work.
Right. Okay.
All right, I got the next one here. My consistent of the week, did do a little bit of changing here, but I gotta say, how about this kid, this rookie, this Texan, Tank Dell? I mean, talking about receivers, he's actually an undersized wide receiver. He's at 5'10", 165. I'll be honest, when in my dynasty draft, I looked at him and I was like, I don't know, he might not have the size to actually put up in this league. He is proving me wrong left and right. I mean, touchdowns in 4 straight games. He's been over 50 yards in, again, 4 straight games. He's gotten 2 of those over 100 yards. He's literally taken over wide receiver 1.
That's a solid, consistent pick. And yeah, I think I think not only that, with how well he's played, how well Noah Brown has played, you're looking at that young core the Texans have. I think that you're going to get a lot of fantasy consistency out of them for years to come. If you got one of those 3 guys on your dynasty league, I'm very happy.
I'm very happy with Stroud, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Tank Dell is really he is one of the best rookie wide receivers, and I think you're even not too far away to say he is the best rookie wide receiver. I mean, who else is in the picture?
Nakua?
Puka Nakua.
Puka Nakua.
Yeah, and that's the only one he might have competition with, but Puka has not been performing since, week 4, week 5?
What about Atwell?
Cooper Kupp came back.
Yeah.
The other receiver for the Rams, he was doing well, and then again, Cooper Kupp came back.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell was the one who was always going to fall off when Kupp came back, but I knew that was going to happen.
But Tutu's not a rookie. You're talking rookies this year.
True. He's his second year.
I think I really do think Tank Dell is might be the best rookie wide receiver of the draft class, and he has definitely been an awesome pickup for those of us who have him, and he has definitely exceeded our expectations, especially when you have a wide receiving core that's stacked. Noah Brown, like you said, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. They've got Dalton Schultz with their tight end. I mean, they got a stacked wide receiving core, and Tank Dell has been that consistent surprise for me.
Absolutely. All right, Jordan, how about your consistent player of the week?
All right, so I'm picking Josh Allen. So not saying he's going to be consistently number 1 every week at the QB position, but
even though he is.
But yeah, he pretty much. I mean, he pretty much is. He's dominating that position. I think he's going to be probably the player that's most highly, he's going to be most highly appearing on the championship teams, the highest percentage. So I think if you have him for the rest of the season, just ride him out. I know he has a bye this week, but he's playing Kansas City, then Dallas, then the Chargers, Pats, and Miami. So between Kansas City, Dallas, Chargers, those are going to be shootout games. I think he's going to continue to put up those points, and if you got him, he's going to help you win in the playoffs.
I couldn't agree more as far as the number 1 guy. I mean, he's literally the number 1 overall player in fantasy right now. He's been that way for years and years and years. I mean, just looking at his history, I'll read this to you. 2023 PPR format, number 1. 2022, number 2. 2021, number 1. 2020, number 1. The dude's just a freaking monster when it comes to fantasy.
Chiefs offensive coordinators hasn't really made a difference. Josh Allen's still cooking.
He has dual capabilities. He's a dual threat guy. He can rush for touchdowns. He can pass for touchdowns. He's got incredible weapons. Even he gets Gabe Davis involved around the end zone. He has Stephon Diggs to get him down the field. He even has James Cook, who's been electric at running back, who is a pass catching back. He has weapons that he doesn't even know what to do with. I agree. Good pick. I will say I'm less bullish on the schedule going forward than you are, Jordan, but I still think solid pick.
I just think that his schedule moving forward, depending on what your league's playoff schedule is, like Kansas City, he's going against Pat Mahomes. It's going to be a shootout. Dallas, Dak Prescott, been throwing the ball a lot, putting up a lot of points himself. So, I just think a lot of the games that Buffalo has left, they're going to have to throw the ball.
Yep.
I do agree with that. Tyler, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, Josh Allen has been a consistent performer. Even turning the ball over as many times as he does and has over the past couple weeks, he's still putting out massive points and really just he is a force to be reckoned with. He is number 1 QB on the season in most formats, and I agree. He is a consistent player, even though he turns the ball over. From an NFL's perspective, it's aggravating. From a fantasy perspective,
if I'm a Bills fan, I'm annoyed. If I'm a fantasy football fan, like, I'm so happy with my team.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Week 12 disappointments. I'm gonna start as we end our weekly trifecta. I'm going with another player from my consistent team, the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp has just been a big disappointment. He has been my biggest disappointment. Yeah, Cooper Kupp of poo. He has been my biggest disappointment on the year, and even Week 12 when, you really expected him to do something. He was versing the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have one of the worst defenses in the league. And yes, coming off injury, I get it, but Cooper Kupp, he is special. And, you think about his draft capital that you spent to get him, even knowing he was injured, or depending on when your draft was, you might have, I drafted him before he went on injury. And, weekly, every week, he seems just to be continuing to re-aggravate injuries. And overall, just such a huge disappointment from Cooper Kupp. Definitely, not only for Week 12, but, for me, it's been on the year.
I agree.
For me too, I have him in fantasy, and I have him in a dynasty league. I have him in another league that's actually a redraft. I picked him high, and to start off the season, having that hamstring injury, kind of went down, and I was like, this is gonna be rough. Got off to a rough start because I lost my number 1 first-round pick, and of course, comes back, got all excited, and you're right, he's been just constantly re-aggravating that. And unfortunately, I will say, this past week, I think the reason he didn't show is because he re-aggravated his ankle again. I don't know if it was his hamstring he got re-aggravated, or he at least hurt his ankle, because I know in the first quarter, caught a pass, went to the sideline, and he actually took a while to get up. So I do think that was one of his problems, but it doesn't help anymore for fantasy. So I am a little worried for him going forward with that as well. If he rolled his ankle, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think with Cooper Kupp, he's the perfect candidate for this category, Tyler. Good pick here. Especially, you sat on him because he was injured in the beginning, and he comes back. What do you get? 15.8 and 24.3. So you're excited. Then it's just downhill from there. Especially for a guy that we're talking about. I believe it was the 2021 season, the year they won the Super Bowl. He got the Triple Crown. He led the league in yards, receptions, and touchdowns. So to see him kind of have this fall off, especially with a healthy Stafford, definitely frustrating if you got him.
Yeah, and you look at where he is right now. He's sitting at number 63 in some formats, in our format at least. Number 63 in wide receivers. Number 223 overall. He was drafted at, top 10 overall, and right now his performance is 223. So he has definitely been a disappointment. And you know what? If you're asking me, I'm going to monitor if he's a start every week. I think he's hitting that flex/bench category.
That's a good question.
If you've got a Tank Dell, if you've got a Michael Pittman, if you've got a Mike Evans, I think I would be starting all 3 of those.
I'd be starting all 3 of those for sure. I don't think he's even the number 1 target on his team right now.
Yep.
I don't even know if he's the second. I mean, Tutu Atwell outperformed him too in this past week.
Cooper Kupp is in the needs to prove it to me before I start him again, especially where we're at in the season. Some people have clinched playoffs. Most people have not. Most people are still right in the phase of I could be eliminated, I could win. I'm not trusting Cooper Kupp. I'm just not.
No.
And once if I make the playoffs and I have him, I'm not rostering him to start unless he's had a bounce back week in that time.
I got one for you guys. Romeo Doubs or Cooper Kupp?
Romeo Doubs.
Oh, man. I mean, Romeo Doubs, I feel like, has had a pretty good floor lately.
That's the thing.
That one would break my heart. That is a heartbreaking decision right there. Romeo Doubs, I mean, he's also had down weeks, so I would say I'm gonna still go with Cup as long as he's active. I think I'd choose him over Dobbs.
See, I think I would choose Dobbs just because I think the floor is actually a little higher. Because I think right now I do believe the Cup is injured, but that's just me.
Right.
What do you think, Jordan?
I'm going to go with Dobbs because it feels like that's the guy who Jordan Love had to lean on throughout the season. So I'm thinking that they've built a little bit more of chemistry throughout that season. Christian Watson is back, but it feels like Matthew Stafford may have more mouths to feed, and I don't trust Cooper Kupp's ankle.
Well said. I agree with all your points.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go to
Mike.
my disappointment now. I got to go
Hot take.
take a quick turn to the QB situation. A lot of us are going into the playoffs, and you might be thinking you got the best offense in the league. You're riding high. You're riding especially the early 70-point matchup against the Denver Broncos early this season. I think you are having major red flags for Tua. I'm going to try to say this, Tagovailoa.
Tungo Vailoa.
So I think
Tungo
Tua is
Vailoa.
going to be a problem. I think Tua is going to be a problem going into your playoffs. He does have one more semi-favorable matchup against Washington. Actually, Tennessee is also semi-favorable, but after that, you're talking playoffs.
He's got some tough defenses.
Playoffs going into it, he's going to be going against the Jets, Dallas, Baltimore. And then on top of it, assuming you guys end up going into Week 18 for your championship, then he has Buffalo after that. That might be better, but I mean, a lot of our leagues, at least my leagues personally, they all end in Week 17. That's a tough playoff matchup to go against. And he has not traditionally done well against good teams. I mean, you could go back to this past week. He played the Jets already. He was held to 7 points in my league. If you look back in this other league that I'm looking in, he played against another decent team. Oh, the Buffalo Bills. His week 18, he was held to under 13 points. I think he dominates great team or bad teams, and he is really held in check on good ones.
So taking a look at what he's done, New York Jets, he does have to play again, 9.82. Not an exciting score to see. I think this is a good pick as well, Mike. And to your point, he not only has to go against Baltimore, it's at Baltimore. They're one of the best teams right now. They're the top position right now in the conference. The only thing with Baltimore is that you hope maybe if you have Tua and you're considering starting him, that at that point they've already locked in their playoff position. But then again, now with the way that it's all set up, they're probably still going to start Lamar and try to get that number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that bye week. So, yeah, Tua, I would consider seeing who's got more favorable matchups for the rest of the season, especially in the playoffs, like Mike pointed out, weeks 16 and 17.
I would not be afraid to try the waiver wire on him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Time for my disappointment, and I kind of didn't want to put this guy, but I did. So I put Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's not that he was terribly bad this week. It's just that I kind of felt looking at his past few weeks, he was entering second half of the season. He's gonna finally become like what people expected him to. He had a ton of catches in college. People knew he could be an RB1 status in terms of like the depth chart for the Detroit Lions. So I mean, he went. Let's see, put up 23, 27, bye week, 24, 18, and then 9 against the Packers. So I do think he has some more favorable matchups coming up. 16 and 17 are tough against Minnesota and Dallas. But I do think he'll bounce back. It's just I was a little disappointed with him getting under 10 points this week.
Yeah, he was kind of tough getting under 10 points. I'll give you that. Again, it does depend on league formats and scoring, but for him, I mean, with being a pass-catching back and he had 8 targets, 4 receptions, I mean, that in a PPR format alone is just 4 points just for literally standing there.
Yeah.
So I to get almost 20 yards on top of that, and then and honestly, and still average over 4, almost 5 yards a carry. You'd like to see if he gets in the end zone. This is a whole different conversation, right? If he gets in the end zone on one of those,
it's his first game in the past 4 games. He has had at least 1 touchdown.
Yeah, so like if he gets in the end zone, you're talking something totally different, and he's doing great for you. But I think the production was there, Jordan. I know you've had one of the disappointments. I told you earlier. I think it's he played all right, but I mean the end zone really just
bounce
killed
back.
him.
And I think I'm pretty comfortable starting him in the playoffs. I do see that if you look at his consistency in the previous 4 games, getting touchdowns, that does excite me for the playoffs, having him on my roster.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think he's going to be. He had a down week, but I think they're going to come back. Even looking at the schedule,
disappointment, not season disappointment.
Yeah, New Orleans, I think he'll do fine. Chicago, Denver, Minnesota. Tough matchup, Week 17 against Dallas, and unfortunately, that's
rough.
A lot of championship weeks. Dallas has a great run defense, but
the thing is, ball's got to go somewhere for the Lions.
Yeah,
Lions are an offensive, juggernaut right now, but Jameer Gibbs, they got to get it to him somehow.
I agree. Well, hey. Thanks for joining us for our weekly trifecta. That was our Week 12 trifecta of surprise, consistent, and disappointments of the week. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to dive into our Week 13 preview and just go over some highlights of different matchups and different players that we're going to start, sit, who we're going to talk about. So we're going to kick it off with this Thursday Night Football, Seahawks versus the Cowboys. Right now, Kenneth Walker's questionable. Big loss there if he can't. We saw Zach Charbonnet take the lead last week and just not be able to perform the way Kenneth Walker is. DK Metcalf. I don't know about you guys, but DK Metcalf for me is a risky play. He is a risky flex. I feel like he's got a low floor, but he does have a high ceiling. He's going to have 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in one game. It's possible. We've seen it before.
Personally, me on Metcalf, I was really high on Metcalf going into the season, not going to lie, especially because I believe he led the league in end zone targets last season. So that excited me in terms of what his floor was in terms of fantasy points, but he just, like Tyler said, has not been what I had hoped.
But Mike, what do you think about DK Metcalf versus the Cowboys? Do you think the Cowboys are going to shut him down and they're going to shut Geno down?
I'll be honest, I'm staying clear of any and all Seahawks in this matchup. I think that Dallas' defense has proven to be arguably absolutely any and all. I mean, what you're really going to be fighting against the number 1 defense in the league, and at points earlier this season, maybe even now, people are talking about Dallas' defense to be historically good. And you're going to throw in Tyler Lockett is the number 29 wide receiver on the season. You got DK Metcalf, who's the number 34 wide receiver on the season. I mean, you're talking Zach Charbonnet is a rookie who, has a lot of hype going in. He hasn't shown us much as a starter just yet. Not saying he's going to be bad. I mean, in the long term, he's a 22-year-old kid. I actually have a lot of faith in the kid. Just right now against this defense, I don't trust anyone. I'm steering clear of all Seahawks.
I agree. Wow. What if Walker's healthy?
Still steering clear of all Seahawks.
So if Walker was active, you're not playing him?
Absolutely, because if he's active, he's coming right off of an injury. He still has Charbonnet to deal with. He's going to be split in snaps at the very least. Against, again, the number 1 defense.
You're benching DK Metcalf.
Benched.
I think I would agree. Geno, we're not putting in again in this matchup. Micah Parsons is going to tear him down. Obviously, on the Cowboys side, you're going to start the obvious. Dak has been a monster. Tony Pollard, we talked about him a little earlier. You're starting him. CeeDee Lamb starting. Oh, yeah. Dallas defense is
Brandon Cooks.
I would say in a pinch, he's got a low floor, but his ceiling, he can get high in that ceiling.
Definitely in the flex conversation this week. I had him last week in my flex position, and he definitely performed. I hope for him that's a sign of things to come. They do need somebody to throw to besides CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, and definitely starting Ferguson as your tight end. He's been doing really well in connecting with Dak. But yeah, a lot of those Cowboys players we're starting. Colts Titans. I don't know about you. I love watching the Colts football. You never know what you're going to get. But from a fantasy perspective, Pittman, you're going to start Pittman. Jonathan Taylor probably out again for 2
Tyler
to
also
3
just
games.
freeze for you, Mike.
Tyler did just freeze for me, so I think we're having some internet issues over there in Virginia.
All right.
What
well,
a host.
Yeah, right.
This
What
is
a
our
host.
podcast now. Kick him out.
I'll say this. What a host. I do actually, I know where he's going with this. I do think that this is going to be a pretty kind of rather lackluster game. I think you got 2 good rush defenses basically going at each other. Zach Moss, I mean, I'm intrigued by him. I really am, but I don't like the matchup. Tennessee has known the run pretty well. I think Michael Pittman is an absolute go. Even Josh Downs in PPR formats, I think, is a go. That's my personal opinion on the Colts side. On the Tennessee Titans side of the ball, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry because you just can't not play Derrick Henry. What do you think?
I think you can't not play Derrick Henry, like you said. Spears has not taken over to the level.
Tyler will be back, boys.
Will he? I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe we don't let him back.
This is our podcast now, Mike.
This is our podcast. Been booted.
Spears, I really think,
You can't
I don't
play
expect
Spears.
him.
You can't play
Yeah,
Spears.
you can't play Spears. I don't think he's going to cut into Henry's time as much as people feared. Pittman, on the other side with the Colts, he's been just putting up numbers. Like
Welcome
he's
back,
one of those
sir.
guys.
I'm back.
Ooh,
I'm back, baby.
I think we lost the first half. But let's keep going, just in case.
Keep going. Okay.
It should have said
Great.
uploading, so
It
let's
did. It
keep
continued
going.
to say uploading the whole time, but we'll take it as it is.
Jordan, I agree with you. So,
With the
Tyler,
Colts,
to catch
the
you
pick-
up, going through on the Indianapolis Colts side, we were saying Gardner Minshew, not quite so much. You could definitely play a better quarterback. Zach Moss, I'm iffy on against the good Tennessee defense, good Tennessee run defense at least. Minshew's enough of a passer to where I would be absolutely in on Pittman. He's going to be seeing a lot of targets as well as Josh Downs. I'm in on both of them. Josh Downs I would be in for flex consideration.
Yeah.
I would be probably wide receiver 2 for Michael Pittman, if not wide receiver 1, especially in PPR formats.
Yeah, because Titans, you can't run the ball either. Titans have a great run defense.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
What about Titans? So Titans, you've got Derrick Henry, who's, in my opinion, is your only definite start. You might be able to play DeAndre Hopkins because you are going against the Colts, but I don't trust Will Levis to do anything really. So personally, I'll still steer clear of Hopkins.
I think Hopkins is absolutely steered clear. I think
Right,
the only
and
player
Pittman-
on the Tennessee Titans side of the ball is Derrick Henry.
I think Pittman is, with the Colts, I'm starting him. He's been, he's definitely earned his spot as wide receiver 1 on that team. He's been playing well. I mean, no matter who seems to be at the quarterback position.
Hey, Tyler, I got a question for you here.
Yeah.
Going back to our last game that we just discussed, Metcalf, or do you play Josh Downs in this upcoming week?
I would play Downs.
I would too.
Against the Titans, who you're going to have to throw the ball, I would play Josh Downs.
I hope DK just puts up 3 TDs this week and shuts both of you up.
Am I playing you? I'm just curious.
I don't know. But we both talk playoffs.
Moving on to Falcons Jets.
Falcons
Jets.
It's gonna be a dud of a game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think
but
Bijan,
Bijan, I think you got to start him. Other than him, I'm not sure who I'm really starting.
I gotta be honest. I'm looking forward to this game. This game is gonna be, I think, pretty exciting. Only because I'm looking forward to this game because you're going to have Bijan Robinson basically running all up and down the Jets D, because the Jets D is not very great against the run. They are a great pass catching. They're great against the pass, but they're not amazing against the run. And Bijan he's finally getting the reins put in his hand. He's going to end up running all up and down the Jets field. I think it's going to be a great show.
Maybe. I don't see that particularly happening, to be honest. I think the Jets will find a way to stop them. But we'll see.
Yeah. Drake London, I think he's a maybe if you need a slot. But again, you're going against the Jets, so actually I'd downgrade that to I would only flex the Drake London if I have to. Looking into the Jets side of the field, you've got Breece Hall, who I think everyone and anywhere is always going to start. Garrett Wilson, I think, is an interesting topic. I am still a believer that you have to start Wilson just based off of where you drafted him and what his ceiling is. So I would definitely play Garrett Wilson. And the only really other side of the Jets that I might consider playing is their defense. Going up against the Falcons, who struggle against good defenses.
If you got their defense, start their defense.
Yep.
I would agree with all three of those.
Okay.
Yep. And one of the things cool that we can just kind of play around with and just leaving in the listeners' ears is Rodgers is coming back. I don't know when.
Dude,
it might be a stunt.
He's back.
It's absurd. It's absurd that he's going to come back.
Back in practice today. Can you believe it?
Dude, if I was a Jets fan, I'd be like, please don't.
Yep.
Just don't.
Then we're moving on to Lions Saints. Lions side, I still think no matter what the performance was from an NFL perspective, you're still starting the Lions team. You're starting Jahmyr Gibbs, even though I know we talked about him earlier. You're starting David Montgomery. I believe he's questionable right now, but I think we're expecting him to play. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a highly regarded wide receiver this year. You're always going to start him no matter what the matchup is. And Sam Laporta, the Lions tight end, we're starting him. Jared Goff, I think, he's been great for fantasy. For the Lions, he's been meh. I think Goff
you got a
is
top
still,
8 QB. I'm starting Goff.
Yeah, I think Goff is still a star. I don't know, but even like last week and the week before against the Bears and Packers, he still had 18, 19 points depending on your league format. Maybe 16,
He's
17.
A pretty solid floor. You're right, Tyler.
I think he does. Now, one of the interesting guys I want to ask you guys about is Jameson Williams. Is he joining our rosters and our lineups, or we want to see more?
I want to see more.
We want to see. We want to see more for sure. We can't trust Jameson Williams just yet. I mean, he's gotten a couple of looks in the past few weeks. I know Dan Campbell has come out publicly and said that he wants to get him more involved, but until we actually see it, you just can't trust it. There's too many weapons on this offense.
Yeah, looking at it right now, he is 37% rostered in Sleeper. I think his schedule coming up, if they keep using him, he could be someone we might want to consider. I mean, he's got Chicago, Week 14, Denver, 15, Minnesota, 16 and 18. 18 in most formats, it's not going to matter. 17, it is Dallas, so he's not going to be your championship game player, but I think he's someone you would consider for your bench if he is in your waiver wires.
I think if he's only a consideration for your bench, honestly, if you have Amon-Ra and you want someone to basically be more or less a safety in case Amon-Ra goes down. I just don't see it with Jameson Williams, and I think he's going to end up being a cog in your bench.
Okay.
That's just me. But do we want to move on to the next game, boys?
Yeah.
All right. So Broncos Texans. Oh, my
what an
favorite
exciting
team
game
from down south. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, just C.J. Stroud has this entire offense just buzzing. I mean, you got C.J. Stroud who's literally put up. Let's just look at the numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive games of over 300 yards. This kid's a rookie, and he's already the QB6 on the season. And he's literally bringing all of his receivers with him. Tank Dell starts, Nico Collins start,
MVP.
Noah Brown. What was that?
MVP. C.J. Stroud.
He might.
It'd be really cool to see a rookie. Dude, but this might be the year. It'd be cool to see that. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I think he's absolutely taken them by fire. He's literally picked up this entire offense and he's put them on his back. I mean, he's bringing it and he's dishing it to everybody. I mean, he throws the ball a lot. So the one thing I do have a question on is running backs. Do you guys play the running backs? Singletary, Pierce,
Tyler.
If Pierce is healthy, he didn't do much in Week 12. Devin Singletary continues, I think, just to surprise everyone that he is somewhat relevant. I mean, last week versus the Jaguars, he did put up a good floor for you. Going up against Denver, I think Singletary's earned his role as their lead back right now. So if he's their lead back, and I think he's going to be, I'm going to play Singletary over Pierce and keep Pierce on my bench. You drafted Pierce high. You're not discarding him, I don't think. So you're keeping him on your bench in case things switch up.
So I kind of agree with Tyler there. In terms of who to start, Singletary, Pierce, if they're both healthy, I'm personally not looking to start either of them. If Singletary's out, I might consider Pierce, but most likely I'm still not starting him because I need to see like a prove-it game. And then lastly, but if Pierce is out, Singletary's been putting up numbers.
I just want to say something here. So Singletary the last 4 weeks has played over 75% of the snaps, the last 3 over 80% of the snaps, and he's been clearly the lead back.
Yeah.
I just feel like Singletary is not somebody I'd be going away from, at least for a flex.
I agree. Dameon Pierce again. This is only going to be a second week off that ankle injury. So I'm with you, Mike. I think Singletary is a flex if you need a spot to fill.
Right. Yeah, he's in the flex consideration, especially with Pierce out.
Yep. Now, a curious question I have for you guys. We talked about Tank Dell. Collins is a start. Noah Brown's a start. Do you play all 3 wide receivers for the Houston Texans?
I just can't see. I don't think you play Noah Brown, personally. I think Noah Brown has had some time. He's been fun.
Are all 3 of them rookies?
No, Noah Brown's 26, 28.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And Noah Brown also hasn't played the last 2 weeks. I mean, you got to think he's going to be coming back. I don't think you mess with it. I think the first 2 absolutely. I think they're lineup locks, but Noah Brown is not a lineup lock in my opinion.
Right. Got it. All right. Back to DK Metcalf.
Huh.
You starting Cortland Sutton or DK Metcalf?
Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton, I think, for me too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because I got to say, Russell Wilson has bounced back this year. Russell Wilson has really bounced back and done pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, right now he's number 14 on the year. So actually that's surprisingly low to me, to be honest, but
I bet it's higher if you look at how he's performed in the past 5 games. His points per game is probably higher than 14th.
Yep. Yeah.
I think Cortland Sutton is my pick for sure. Jerry Jeudy, no. Good to see Marvin Mims finally getting like a couple targets.
He's not worth anything.
He's not worth anything, but he's got so much skill. Oh my God, have you ever watched his highlights? He can make some great plays. I don't know why they don't use him more.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
I think we're done with this game though, right, boys?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Moving on to the Chargers-Patriots. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, what more does Justin Herbert have to do? Justin Herbert, I said. I'm sorry.
I still
Justin
think of
Herbert,
Hunter Henry as a Charger, I have to admit. So I'm like, is this a revenge game? I don't know if they've played since he's gone to the Patriots, but
I'm not really sure, but I will say this. I think with Herbert in, I mean, I personally love Allen. Well, no, of course you're going to love Allen, but I mean, I don't love any other receiver after that. I mean, just looking at the lineup, you have Guyton, you have Johnston. Johnston is proving that he can't catch a ball.
Josh Palmer's
hurt.
He's a running back.
Oh, yeah, he's hurt too.
And he's
Joshua Kelly.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
but it doesn't change the fact that he's hurt.
Right.
And you got like Austin Eckler, who hasn't been doing quite as well this season. I know he's been hurt. I know he's coming off an injury. I mean, he did get a lot of targets last week.
But you're starting Eckler.
Eckler's obviously a start. I mean,
I'm starting Eckler. I'm starting Allen. I'm starting Herbert. But with Palmer and Williams out, there's really nobody else that I trust.
Nope,
Herbert's just going to spread the ball out. He might, get a couple tight ends involved, but, no
one fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
And on the other side, what do you think, Mike?
On the other side of the ball, I really like Nobody.
Zeke.
I mean, I gotta say, Ramondre Stevenson is pretty much the only one who you play. Mac Jones, I don't know if you can do. I don't know if you could do anything with him. The only person who remotely intrigues me on the receiving side is the rookie, Demario Douglas. He just seems to get a lot of targets, but
He's
outside
hurt.
of a PPR format, he doesn't get touchdowns. I mean, he outside of a PPR format, he is not worth anything either. He's actually the wide receiver 60 on the season. Definitely better than that if you look at the past 4 or 5 weeks specifically. But I don't trust anyone outside of Ramondre Stevenson in this New England lineup.
And Pop Douglas is hurt too. He's questionable right now, so I believe he's in the concussion protocol. So, only start for the Patriots is going to be Ramondre.
Yeah, and I think that pretty much finishes this game because this game was another rough one. So let's move on to Cardinals Steelers. Another
Super Bowl rematch.
Fun game. I mean, I'll say this though, I'm having a lot of fun watching Kyler.
Are you?
I am.
Where do you watch him? Do you watch him on like CBS, or do you watch him on Twitch when he plays Call of Duty?
I'm watching him on Red Zone.
Okay. Just wanted clarification there.
I mean, listen, he's throwing the ball 45 times last week, 27 of them for completions. Yeah, he's not getting a lot of touchdowns, but who's he throwing to? He's throwing to nobody. I mean, he's got some crazy rushing ability. Maybe not so much last week, but the 2 weeks prior, 6 rushes, 7 rushes, over 30 yards and 50 yards. I mean, he's rushed for a touchdown every game.
Yeah, I think he's a start. I think he is. I think he's hit that start because he's going to get you 20 points. He's got a great ceiling as a quarterback, and that's what you want.
Right. If you so let me ask you this with Kyler: if you sat on him all season, perhaps, so maybe you took him in a later round, just depended on him to be your backup QB till he was healthy, whatever it may be. Are you considering riding him through the playoffs?
Yeah, I would be open to it. I mean, they don't exactly have a tough schedule.
They got San Fran and they got the Eagles.
Oh no, I take that back. Actually, no, I would not because he's going against Pitt City. He's going against Pittsburgh this week. Then he's on bye. Then he comes out of the bye. San Francisco, the Bears, and then the Eagles in probably your championship.
I would say for those listeners, if you have Kyler Murray, you got to be careful because he does have that late bye, and he's going up against a hard defense. Honestly, if you're in that situation, unless you're in first place and you can stash him until Week 16 when you're going to get up against Chicago, he might be one that I would bench or even waiver just to see what else I can pick up.
For those leagues that have really, really late trade deadlines, he's someone I would try to
trade
move.
high.
Yeah, I would try to move him for
this is why I brought it up.
A solid wide receiver too.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone that like it doesn't need to be a star, but someone who's just like been quietly consistent.
Yeah. Who else on the Cardinals we starting?
James Conner.
James Conner.
He's a workhorse back. There's not many of them left in the league, but that's pretty much it.
Now, question for you. I might have a sneaky pickup, and I don't know how sneaky. Maybe not, but, Michael Carter was used. Do we think he could be a sneaky pick if James Conner has another similar performance as he did last week? Because, he had 69 yards week 11, 63 yards week 10, 42 yards week. I'm sorry, that's snap percentage. I apologize. 73 yards in Atlanta, 62 in Houston, 27 against the Rams. Michael Carter was starting to get utilized. I think he could be I would keep my eye on him, and maybe that's just a reaching for the stars, but.
I think that's
you're reaching
for the stars, looking at who they're playing coming up. Even if he has a good game even if he has a good game this week against Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be pretty much just rose-colored glasses because then he's going to come out of that bye. San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia in your playoffs. You're not going to be playing them in your playoffs.
Yeah.
Right, and for example, Michael Carter's not like that sneaky RB2 that it's kind of like, well, we really got to watch out for him. He might come out. Like it's not like I'm trying to think of he's certainly not the Montgomery Jahmyr Gibbs situation with the Lions. It's not a 1-2 punch.
Right.
I think it's a little bit of a reach there. Sorry, bud.
someone I might keep my eye on.
I know. Hey, keep your eye out. I will say this: I picked him up in my dynasty league because I'm in a rebuilding scenario, and I do think that he might have some chances next year. But that's my thought. All right, so last one, Pittsburgh. Anyone on the Pittsburgh side you're looking to start against these Arizona Cardinals? I'd say there's a few. I would not say it starts with the QB Kenny Pickett, but Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, I think both of them are plays. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, I think both of them I would play. And I'm going to go back to what Jordan was saying for his weekly trifecta. I think the Muth. I think Pat Freiermuth is absolutely going to be in.
Yes.
Yeah, and just want to remind everyone that we did have a bet that Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren were going to still be fantasy relevant, and so far Jordan and my bet are turning out to be right. So
that is true.
Just wanted to bring that up.
I was on the losing end of that bet only because I didn't realize they were going to fire their offensive coordinator. Yeah. So if I was in the room, I would have known not to take that bet. But you know what? I will take the L on that one if it proves to be wrong. If I prove to be wrong.
I think out of the Steelers, let's take a look here. Who is fantasy relevant after this game, and who's matchup dependent? I think Freiermuth and the running backs are, I'm looking to continue to play them. Outside of that, the wide receivers might be a little matchup dependent for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I can see it for sure.
I can too. I got a question for you guys. Who do you guys prefer, Pickens or Deontay Johnson?
Neither. You're not playing them. I mean, until you see more, I'm not going to play them.
Okay, but what are you looking for here? Because I'm looking at Deontay Johnson
DK
and
Metcalf.
You know what, Jordan? Answer. I'll give you that. I would probably play DK over Deontay Johnson and George Pickens.
That's a tough pick. I don't know who I would pick out of them. Probably Deontay Johnson. But moving on to our next game, we have Dolphins versus Commanders. So we got a few interesting things going on here. I know that Mike had Tua down for his disappointment. Then we got Raheem Mostert. We got to talk about Tyreek Hill, what's going on with him. And then a couple other players that we want to see on the Miami side if they're relevant, in the running back game with Waddle. Tyler, what are you thinking there?
I think I'm starting all those guys. As long as Achan's healthy, he's shown that him and Mostert can score points together.
Oh, yeah.
Tua, I think
that
you're
Mike
starting.
McDaniels offense, they're cooking.
Tua, you're starting. I mean, yes, he had a disappointing game last week and maybe the past 2 weeks, but Hill, you're starting, and Waddle.
Hill is a must start.
Waddle,
He's the only one that's questionable for me.
He is hard because he has not had the year you draft him for. So I think he is I need a flex because I got people on bye wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. And, if I got people on bye, this is a crazy bye week. So I'm definitely looking at Jalen Waddle for that flex, maybe wide receiver 2 position. Mike, how are you feeling about Tua? I know he was your disappointment.
I already told. Yeah, Tua is my disappointment. I gotta say I am feeling a little differently than Waddle than you guys are. I'm saying he's an all-out start. He just came off of a game where he had 8 receptions, over 100 yards if I recall correctly. I think he's absolutely in there with Hill, with Mostert, and I am. I'm skeptical.
Waddle is not in the same conversation as Tyreek Hill.
I'm not saying he's going to put up the same number of points, but I'm saying he's going to be He should be started.
Yeah.
He's going to be your wide receiver 2 when Hill is your clear wide receiver 1. Achan, though, coming off of injury, proving that he's injury prone over and over and over again. Yes, he's got a good matchup. He's not even really sure he's going to be playing. He was limited in practice. I'm definitely skeptical of Achan.
Right.
That's my opinion. I would probably bench him because I don't want to have another week 11 come by and bite me in the ass when he gets 1.5 points.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we got for the Commanders, there's not a whole lot of people I'm starting, to be honest here. Tyler, are you starting anyone?
if I need him, I'm starting Howell. He's still a top 10 quarterback, and he is showing he can still keep up. Brian Robinson, he's a start every week. Logan Thomas, he could be a nice tight end to put in your lineup if you're weak in that area. But those are the only three guys that I'm really considering. I don't trust Dotson. I don't really trust McLaurin. I'd be a Howell, Robinson, Logan Thomas as a tight end kind of guy.
For me, it's just Howell and Brian Robinson. Those are the only two I'm really considering playing. Mike?
I agree wholeheartedly with you guys here. I think Logan Thomas is a play. He's kind of like that low-key, kind of under the radar tight end 14, but he's tight end 14 on the season with a couple of games that he's missed or had limited time to. So he's been involved. He's Yep. He's always looked towards for those high-profile catches. Yes, sometimes they don't exactly come by, but he's also playing in one of the hardest divisions. Miami is prone to give up a lot of passing. So I think it's gonna be a Logan Thomas type of week. Everyone else though, no receivers, but definitely Brian Robinson and definitely Howell.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the Panthers and the Bucks. So on the Panthers side, really, just Adam Thielen's the only person that's in the conversation for me of starting. Other than that, I'm not starting Bryce Young. I'm not starting Miles Sanders. There's no one in Carolina I trust.
Nope.
How about you guys? Do you trust anybody besides starting Thielen potentially?
I think Thielen is already a question mark. Honestly, I'm skeptical of Thielen. I do like the matchup, and that's the only reason why I'm considering him, but that's about it.
And then on Tampa Bay's side, we got Tyler's buddy, Mike Evans, who I think he's a must-start. And then for Tampa Bay, they've also got a pretty good defense, so if you've got their defense, I'm definitely starting them this week.
Yep.
Baker, because of the matchup, a little bit of a revenge game here. I do think he'll put up a top 15 week, so if you're looking for that quarterback in the bye week, he's certainly someone to look at.
And he's a start in those super flex leagues too, I think. Baker Mayfield's someone you want to look for in those super flex.
In super flex, go for him. And then Rachaad White, I think he's pretty been a little better the second half of the season. He's definitely more involved. Again, matchup is very good. I'd go with it. Godwin, I would consider as well because of the matchup.
Yep. I agree on all that.
Okay. And then for the next one, we got 49ers and the Eagles. Okay, this is probably, the game of the week. So, let's see. You got two fantastic defenses. If you've got either of these defenses, of course, I would start them. Then on the 49ers side, they're pretty much everyone. If the 49ers start them, you start them. So, Ayuk, Deebo, who he's been, pretty good since he came back from injury. Kittle, he's had some pretty, highlight-worthy touchdowns the past few weeks.
And Purdy, Kittle's got the ceiling that you want. So Kittle's always a start.
Kittle's always a start. You're not going to get many tight ends that it's not like every week he's getting outplayed by 15 tight ends, and 1 week he has that good week. He's going to consistently be top 10. And then Purdy, because of the supporting cast he has, I'm starting him. McCaffrey, no questions asked here.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
So I gotta say this though. You just mentioned that you're playing both defenses, but in my opinion, you're playing every offensive weapon in both of these teams.
Yeah, somebody's got to give. Eagles defense.
Eagles
defense is going to give.
I love both defenses against almost anyone else in the NFL, but in this matchup, I'm avoiding both defenses.
That's a fair point.
I agree. What about the Eagles side?
On the Eagles side,
everyone.
Smith, Brown, Hurts. I think DeAndre Swift, he had a little bit of a disappointing week last week, but, they're going up against the 49ers. It would just hurt Smith and Brown isn't going to cut it. So they're going to need to get DeAndre Swift involved in the game or some other offensive weapon, maybe tight end. But I think, I personally would I'm starting Smith, Brown, and Hurts. Swift is on the fence.
I would say, like, I'm only hesitant with Swift, but, like, the reason I want to play him, even though it's against such a good run defense with the 49ers, he's got that pass-catching ability. Like, DeAndre Swift,
does.
he literally he only had the one catch last week, but the week before that, 3. 3 weeks ago, 3. 4 weeks ago, 3. He had one game where he literally was thrown to 10 times. He's got some incredible upside, and I think they're going to be really, really needing him this year or this week. So even just for a check down, because you got Nick Bosa running down on you, you're going to need to throw the ball quick.
Yeah, I see that. Going into the Browns-Rams, on the Browns side of the ball, I think I'm only trusting the defense and Jerome Ford. I don't trust the wide receivers. I just don't think that's a core part of any team that I want to look at. You mean you could look at Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper. I was just going to say.
Right.
No.
Since Deshaun Watson's been out, he's been underperforming. So I think the Browns side is their defense and Jerome Ford. From the Rams side, honestly, I think, if I'm being honest, that the only real start I'm putting in is Kyren Williams. The Browns defense is just so good. I don't trust putting in maybe Nakua, maybe I don't even think I'd put Kupp in, and I definitely wouldn't start Stafford. So Kyron's my only start right now from what I'm thinking on the Rams.
I am in agreement with the exception of Nakua. I think Nakua is going to be the clear-cut wide receiver one. I think Kupp is going to play, but I think he's going to play to be a distraction. He's going to be the guy who goes out there. Everyone's going to know when Cooper Kupp's out there. He's going to draw the number one corner, and he's going to end up leaving Puka Nakua out to catch all the passes. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, in my opinion, on the Cleveland side of the ball, the only person you're playing, I agree with you guys, Jerome Ford and the defense. On the Rams side, you're playing Puka and you're playing Kyren. That's pretty much it. Wrapping it up, right?
Yeah. Yep. We'll go on to Chiefs-Packers.
So Chiefs-Packers, again, another exciting game. I'm excited for this one, but I have a controversial question for you guys here. Is Pat Mahomes a true lineup lock?
I am not a Pat Mahomes fan, and I don't think he's had the season that we all drafted him to have. We didn't draft him to be, number 8, but again, he's still performing. He's only had one under 20 point game, and that was against Denver. So I think he's a lock. He's still a lock. I don't think he's where you want him to be. He's not a top 5, which is where we thought he'd be, but I think he's a lock.
You're right. Where you drafted him in the first or the second round. You probably drafted him in the first round of your draft. So, he's definitely not getting you what you needed, but I do think he does have to be played, especially this week with a lot of buys going on. But it just kind of hurt to see him at that number 8 spot.
Yeah.
Outside of him, though, you play Mahomes, you play Pacheco, because Pacheco has truly taken the running back position. He is the only guy. CEH, who is that guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
But first-round pick, that's what he is. Rashee Rice, I think he's a play. Outside of him, I trust nobody else on this wide receiver core, except for your tight end position, Old Faithful, Travis Kelce.
Yep.
As Aaron Rodgers calls him, Mr. Pfizer.
I agree.
You mean my auto? My auto. Okay, on the other side of the ball, Green Bay coming back. They had a really exciting Thanksgiving game. I know I was really pulling for Detroit because I want them to just actually finally win on Thanksgiving. But you know what? It was good to see that Green Bay can actually put together a win. However, are you believing it? I don't even know who the wide receiver one is right now over in Green Bay. What do you guys think? I'm thinking it's not Watson. I think it's Reed.
I think Jordan Love is in the start category now. I think he's top 10 in some formats as a quarterback.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. He's a start. I don't know if I think the wide receiving core are flexes, right? So Reed is questionable, but I think if he plays, he's a flex. Watson or Dobbs, they rotate in weeks of who's going to get the reception. So I think I'd be hesitant to start them because of the matchup. But then again, who do they have? Aaron Jones is questionable. Reed is questionable. A.J. Dillon is questionable. Maybe you have if all those guys are out, I think maybe you have to play Reed, Watson, and Dobbs.
Well, I think just something to consider. I personally, in my fantasy strategy, I tend to be very matchup dependent unless they're like a top 10 must start. Like we kind of mentioned, like Tyreek Hill, must start. Jalen Waddle, a little more matchup dependent. With this one, the Packers, we also mentioned earlier the Chiefs, their strong side of the ball this year is their defense. So, I'm a little hesitant to play some of the Packers this week, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup.
Oh, definitely a tough matchup. I mean, I'm not liking playing any of them, but I feel like if you need big play potential and you're really trying to get into the playoffs, I do think Christian Watson is worthy of that big play boom need, but you got to know that there's a possibility of a floor.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then the last game we got coming up is Bengals-Jaguars. Now, I think everyone in the fantasy world can agree that Bengals took a big hit in terms of fantasy production.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, I just don't think that they're going to be the same. I could even argue that I don't think necessarily Joe Mixon is going to be the same because he might be more the focus of the defense, A. And B, the Bengals offense might just have trouble staying on the field. And the less they're on the field, the less opportunities Joe Mixon is going to get. So I'm not sure I'm really trusting anyone right now on the Bengals offense. And then in terms of Jaguars, you got Trevor Lawrence, who finally seems like he's startable. I took him because I really thought he was going to take a big leap this year, especially having Calvin Ridley back. He has Christian Kirk, Evan Engram. I thought they were all going to take that jump. It finally seems like him and the rest of the Jaguars cast are taking off. Calvin Ridley had a big week. I do think it's a sign of things to come. So maybe Lawrence is that guy, especially if you need a streamer this week. Go and get Lawrence if he's available.
Yeah, I think, Jordan, I disagree with you. On the Bengals side, I think Mixon and Chase are starts, no matter who the quarterback is. I mean, Browning, he didn't have a terrible game, and I think Jamar Chase can make up for that inexperience. And I think
starts,
Joe Mixon,
I just don't think that you can expect them to perform the way they're going to.
Right.
Garrett Wilson again.
That's fair.
It's the Garrett Wilson scenario.
Yeah.
You got to play him.
That's true.
You got to play him, but he's not going to be that wide receiver top 3 that you were thinking you were going to get when you drafted him.
Yep.
Yeah, realistically, you don't have a wide receiver 3 or 4 that's going to outperform Jamar Chase even without Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I agree. So that is our Week 13 preview. Hopefully you guys got some good information about that, about who you're starting, who you're sitting, who you're looking to get off your waivers. And before we end this out, we want to do another segment, and that is our conference championship predictions. Obviously going into Week 13. We've got 6 weeks left to see who's going to win those conferences. So in the NFC, I have my hopes and dreams, but my realistic. I really want the Lions to take that conference. What an achievement that would be for Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, just the whole team.
Is that who you think's going to win?
No, realistically, it's the Eagles. They're 10-1.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
They'd have to lose the next 4 games, and the Lions would have to win every single game. And I don't think it's out of this world, but it's not realistic. So, Eagles are going to win. AFC side, I hate to say it because I'm not a fan. I think the Ravens are going to take the AFC. So,
man,
I don't think the Chiefs have been performing. They look like a beatable team. The Ravens just have a fabulous defense, and I think they're going to raid with it. So, I got Eagles, Ravens as NFC, AFC champions.
All right. I mean, I gotta say, I am with you 100% in the NFC. I want to see the Lions finally get out of their rut. I mean, they've been bad for a long time, and they finally are looking good. Dan Campbell, I think, is a great coach who I mean, he had his real bad decision that he learned from, I hope, in Atlanta. But I do think the Eagles are going to pull away with it. Honestly, my decision was kind of steered away from the Lions after watching them on Thanksgiving. So that was the unfortunate part. So I am going to choose Eagles. That, like you said, they're 10-1. They just look like they are completely ready to go. They know when they need to create offense, they can, and when they can just shut it down for a defensive matchup, they can. As far as AFC goes, there's just no way I can bet against Mahomes. I mean, they just are too experienced. They may not have all the best weapons, but Mahomes is Mahomes, and he's just a difference maker. That is just it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on the NFC side, I had a little bit of a tough pick here. My heart wanted to go to the Lions because they've just been that exciting team that you'd love to see be in contention for like the first time in franchise history. It's nice to see somebody new, so I really wanted the Lions, but I just don't think, especially after losing to the Packers on Thanksgiving, I don't think they're going to be able to cut it and win the championship game, if they can even make it. And then logically felt like the Eagles would be the pick, but I actually think the 49ers, which is really interesting because they're going to play this week. We'll see how that goes. But I think we're looking at a potential NFC Conference Championship game in the 49ers-Eagles matchup this week. I think
you're right. This is going to be the week where you're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong.
Right, and I think even if they play and lose to the Eagles this time, wouldn't be the first time that then the team's playing in the playoffs and the other team wins.
Yep.
On the other side of the ball, I think that I really wanted to go with the Ravens. They have a fantastic defense. It does seem that Lamar Jackson is finding his stride a little bit more in the passing game, having some more options. I thought Mark Andrews was going to hurt them a lot, but Isaiah Likely has stepped up and really tried to be more of a pass-catching tight end there. But in the end, I think that they just don't have the experience under the spotlight of the conference championship game. And there's a reason why the Chiefs have been in the conference championship game every year. The Chiefs, I could see it being Chiefs versus Ravens, but I do think the Chiefs will be the AFC champions again this year.
Yeah. So you and Mike got the AFC Chiefs. Mike and I have the Eagles. Chiefs. On the NFC. So, yeah.
It's going to be a Super Bowl rematch of the 49ers Chiefs, man. I'm telling you.
That'd be exciting. I would love it.
I would love a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl.
Only if the Lions win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want the Lions to win.
But, hey, everyone, thanks for coming in. Guys, that's episode 3, man. So, thanks for sticking with us. Lots to talk about. We had a lot to talk about today. But thanks for joining in. A little bit, yeah. Lot of talking.
Been that turkey.
So good luck
Thanks
in
for
your
sticking
week
with 13.
Us, guys. Thanks for our one listener for sticking with us, and that would be you, Mike. So keep it up.
I will listen 3 more times.
All right. Well, you boys have a great night, and look forward to talking next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Good luck in fantasy.
Good luck, boys.
See ya.
Hope we helped.